This is Resonance, a podcast for leaders that unpacks the power of song, silence, and strategy.
We believe that great leadership begins with deep listening, not just to others, but to the still small voice within.
It's not just about being a successful leader, it's about being soulfully aligned as well.
In a world moving fast, Resonance invites you to pause and reconnect with purpose, people, and possibility.
We'll dive into some cool stories, celebrate with friends, and dig deep into the music too. 'Cause song has a way of saying what words cannot alone.
So whether you're leading a business, a team, or just trying to lead your own life with more meaning, this is Resonance.
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 Hey, I am pretty fired up about this topic. I hope you will be fired up about it as soon as you hear about it, but you can't hear about it until you hear who we are. We've got Steve Azar, amazing human, amazing artist, and you know who he is. And we got Mike the Monk Guy Farrell. Also, he's keeping us grounded, and you have no idea. Mike does so much to keep this whole show on the road.
No doubt.
We would be wandering cats were it not for the noble Farrell. Anyway, so here we go. Our topic today is going to be something that you should feel in your soul. It should be something that just happens every day. You work your day through a rhythm. You have a sense of rhythm in your heart and soul. Your heartbeat is a rhythm. Everything around you, when you start paying attention to it, is a rhythm. There's the sun and the moon. There's all kinds of things that are keeping time all around you. And so rhythm ends up being this powerful tool that is a part of our humanity, and it's also an extension of our leadership capabilities. That's what we're talking about. And it's going to be pretty exciting stuff, because what we know is high-performing organizations have figured out rhythm, and we're going to talk about why. But let's start with the place where I love it. When I find the music that I love, it is almost always connected at a rhythmic level. It's sort of that baseline thing. One more quick thought. On Apple Music now, you can go and there's an AI slide in your Apple Music where it'll say, what do you want? Make a playlist right now. And I could say, Steve Azar and Fleetwood Mac. And it'll go, bloop, and not only will it put that together, but it'll link the songs based on rhythm and tempo.
Wow.
So that when you listen to it, it feels like it is a DJ that pulled those things together. Or I could say Fleetwood Mac, Steve Azar at a crawfish boil for 30 people, and it will then bring in Cajun influences. So this is what I'm talking about. We're talking about, but how's it doing it? It's doing it with rhythm. It's syncing with rhythm. That's how important this is. Azar, you play every instrument in the band, but you got to know that rhythm is what? Is it a backbone? How does rhythm sit in your mind?
Man,
that's a big question.
That's a loaded, that's a very large question. I need it to sink down to something, but the first thing you think about as rhythm is the guy back there holding down the beat. And you always want a drummer that, and a bass player. So that you think about those two guys back there and you want them, to be in perfect harmony, meaning they live in a pocket. In that pocket, the drummer's he's late, but he's right on time. There's something about that.
How does that happen?
Because you're just ever so late, but it's right on time. It's the craziest thing, but
I play a lot of guitar.
You want a drummer that's
do that.
back. You want a drummer that's sitting back on the beat, not laying on top of it. And what it does is it puts this thing, magic dust, already starting, man. You got the emotional. We're swimming in it and we're drinking whatever they're serving and we're eating whatever they're cooking. And when they have that groove thing going, then the rest of us just try not to screw it up. I'm very rhythmic when it comes to my own thing. So I grew up around Eugene Powell and it was Sonny Boy Nelson and just a lot of great blues guys, Sam Chapman, Little Milton, list goes on and on, of these guys that were capable of sitting with their guitars and all they would do is make it sound like there were four of them. and they played a cheap Sears beat up Harmony, whatever it was, guitar. It wasn't like the top of the line Gibson or Taylor or Martin and all that. And it sounded like an orchestra. And it was because their rhythmic patterns and what they did and the way they hit the guitar with their hands or the way their feet were doing this, they're hitting the ground. There was so much going on that you could close your eyes and still, you just felt like there was almost a band there. And that is, so you take that into a studio, and that could be a really good thing. But if you're doing what the drummer's doing on your guitar, sometimes maybe you don't need the drummer to do that anymore. Because so you've got to figure out rhythmically, and what makes sense as well is, oh, I'm already doing that with my hand hitting the guitar. Maybe the drummer wants to insinuate that, or maybe it's the worst idea in the world. Maybe he needs to go halftime and he needs to be bucking the system a little bit to make it even more rhythmic. So
the country music for a long time, they really didn't like drummers, bluegrass in particular. But I mean, at the Grand Ole Opry, wasn't it kind of a big deal when drummers were finally
inside the music? I mean, you go there. I'm not just saying the Grand Ole Opry. It's an amazing experience, and I've gotten to do it many times, and every time grateful. But it is sort of a silent place to play music, and you sort of feel like you're in church.
Yeah,
I mean, that's so you're more reverent, and you're more
and
than you
the
are.
idea of rock and roll in churches. That's a great observation. Because that was always a little weird when I remember in the 1970s that became a thing.
What?
Having a rock band in church.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. They started doing it, and there's been bands that came out of that were really successful. But still, though, you play to a certain dynamic. I guess your dynamic, everything you do, certain volume. I mean, just be literal volume compared to playing in Madison Square Garden where the amps were on 12. You know what I'm saying? Then like we were ready to roll. And or 100,000 people. Now, I'm kidding about 12 because you still have to have respect on stage. You want the sound engineers out there beyond your stage, be able to turn everything up and let it be that, rather than you being so loud that they don't need to turn you up. Then that defeats the purpose of all that production out there. Yeah. So you want to that's an important thing. I know we're getting off the beaten path a little bit, but I'm going to say this. There's been certain songs in my life when I feel like they're hypnotic to me that I've written. So my song Sunshine, it never leaves this place, and it can almost put you in a trance. When I'm playing it live, I have to not dissolve because every time it kicks in and we go there, it lays in the same place from start to finish. It goes, but you just can't leave. You can't leave it. You have to stay there. And when I originally was writing the thing, I tried to go up in an octave and try to do some things vocally. And I realized even the vocals can't go anywhere. I need to have a conversation, and it needs to match the feeling of everything that's happening. And
I'm going to have to go back and listen to the bridge of Sunshine again.
Yeah.
I can't remember the bridge.
So Steve, Ann and I danced to Sunshine at our son's wedding. That was our request for our song to dance at our son's wedding a couple months ago. So
wow. So what was the rhythm like for you?
It was perfect.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Oh, that made my day. Made my day.
Exactly. That was my request. I wanted Sunshine for us to do our dance.
Wow.
So, all right. So now I'm going to shift gears. You guys have kind of talked about rhythm, but the other piece of this today is the myth of balance. And, and I know, Randy, you have had lots of folks that you've worked with, and you can't hardly read anything today without this idea of living life in balance and work-life balance and all of this kind of stuff. However, I would say that probably 90% of the people that I've worked with, and especially of the successful leaders that I've worked with, would tell you that work-life balance is a bunch of BS. And it really isn't so much about balance as it is rhythm. And as I look at it from a Benedictine perspective, rhythm is built into every single day in a monastery. 7 times to prayer, working at the same time, eating at the same time. All of those kinds of things create a rhythm which builds success in the monastery. And so it's not really, if they were worried about life balance, they'd have half of them say, well, 7 times to prayer, that's too many, or I want to work when I want to work. I don't want to work at this particular time every day. That's not how it works. And I think great leaders find that rhythm is so important because we have a time or a season. One of the clients that I work with, they break their year up into 4 different seasons like a farmer would, and they plant and they cultivate and
I like that.
they water and they harvest, and so they've created this rhythm that they do every quarter, that's kind of based on that thought. And so understanding that it's sometimes, that time of harvest is when they're busy as heck. They're trying to finish out the year and get as much stuff in, and there's not a whole lot of balance there, but it's great rhythm. It's rhythm that happens constantly as they go through their year. And so it really is an interesting way to look at things from a standpoint of, this idea of, when I wrote that first book, it's the strategic planning process, creating that rhythm of quarterly or 6-month time frames or seasons that you work through. And I think that allows you to build rhythm in your business. It allows you to build rhythm in how your teams work and how the things happen within the business. So rhythm, I think, is really important. This idea that everything should be in balance, I'm not sure that that's all that healthy. Because I think that, and you guys know this, there are times, Steve, this from, if you're coming up on the Delta Soul Classic, that there's not a whole heck of a lot of balance going on there in that, 6 weeks before that tournament, because there's a whole bunch of stuff that's getting done. And, and Gwen's getting driven crazy by, hotel rooms and all that kind of stuff. So, it's that kind of thing.
Insane.
I think that, yeah. What do you think, Randy?
Recovery is important, by the way. I can tell
Exactly.
you right.
Exactly.
So
And
I use it. I
that's
use a
actually a
slightly
part of that rhythm.
Yeah, I use a slightly different terminology, but I think we're talking about exactly the same thing. I talk a lot about pace and purpose and the
Yep.
relationship between those two things. So, to your point about Delta Soul, it's like, well, if the purpose is to make this amazing event happen for these amazing people, for this amazing charity, then by God, I can give up some sleep, I can give up some comfort, I can do whatever it's going to take, because that goal is going to be what drives the pace. The purpose of that
Sure.
eclipses and it dictates the pace. It says,
Yeah.
this is what's got to happen. And on the other hand, if I love this, one of the reasons I like your seasonal idea is that oftentimes I see people believe that fast is always good.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because one of the very first places I heard this was with when I started hanging out with SEAL team officers. And I was with a guy, I had not met him before, and we were eating lunch in San Diego. We went to just some little deli in San Diego, and we had sandwiches. They came in little plastic baskets, one of those places, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching this man across from me eat a sandwich in basically 2 bites, just like, grrr. And I said, and I was being, I don't know, I was kind of like, wow. But I said, good, was your sandwich good?
Yeah.
And he looked at me, just finishing chewing, and he goes, high speed. I didn't know what to make of it. And so a little bit later on, I heard somebody else drop the phrase high speed. And so high speed means great in SEAL team language. If something is high speed, so a sandwich is high speed if it's good. So this is how important speed is to these guys. I mean, it's just like, this is central to the way they value anything good is going to be high speed. But these are also the people that say slow is smooth and smooth is fast. They
Yeah.
still
Right.
want it to be fast, but they understand that pace, if you're learning something, being excruciatingly slow in doing it is going to teach you the technique first.
Right.
And this is where anybody learning anything has struggled with this. But this idea of pace and purpose, or aligning, so that we're back to that Benedictine principle of the goal, the almighty purpose of Del Grande. What do we call it? He says something different, doesn't he? He doesn't use.
Oh, he said your purpose is your
yeah. What do you?
Your higher purpose vision.
higher,
Yeah.
higher purpose.
Higher purpose
It's just
vision.
higher
Yeah.
purpose. And
Higher purpose
my
vision.
mind is
Yeah.
like, say it again.
Higher purpose vision.
Higher purpose vision. There we go. And no Del Grande is never in that. So
Yeah. You think about this, you talk about rhythm and you talk about staying in time. Tempo is a very important part
This is
of
it.
the whole scheme of things.
Absolutely.
Your tempo can't vary. It just can't. And so your dynamics can. Meaning you can come down when the singer's singing a verse, so you know what I mean, like the different levels. So your dynamics, it's interesting because it becomes a group effort. It's not an individual effort. I'm telling you, it feels like when you do it right. We talked about this on our last show about the noise and all that and signal, but the bottom line is everybody is in sync when they're playing and dynamics. But it never feels like you're doing it. It feels like we're doing it. And so that's important. Second of all, when you talk about you're seasonal, well, touring is seasonal.
Right.
Come off the road in December and you don't get the road back until March. You got a lot to do, but boy, you come up the mountain, you get voice rest, you get family time, you recharge. At the same time, you're making another record and you're or recording or writing and doing this stuff. A lot of times you'd be writing on the road, so you'd make up that time while you were out there. But I'm telling you right now, there was a system in place and a rhythm to your year.
Exactly.
And when you were doing it that way, now you look at somebody like B.B. King and Willie Nelson, and I don't think they stopped touring. B.B. King did not stop touring. He'd still be touring if he was with us. Willie is 93, and he just tours. And he keeps making records, but he just makes records probably in slots of touring because he is a guy that has to play live.
Yeah.
And he wants to do it. It's like breathing to him. You know what I mean? So you can imagine the rhythm of life and the rhythm on the road for him is not seasonal.
Right.
I remember, I love this idea then that rhythm is something that, you can cast around the whole year. Certainly, I think we may have mentioned this before, that Microsoft was very powerful to me because they have a very strict rhythm of the business that we've talked about, that where this is, if you work at Microsoft, what the deal is, month over month, what's happening. And that's very powerful to have that sense of focus. I had an experience that really blew my mind some time ago when I was working with a guy that was teaching me guitar, and we were doing some recording stuff, and it was the very first time I had practiced and worked on this song for a good while. And then we went in to do lay down this thing in the studio, and I was introduced to the click track, the dreaded click track. I had
gotta have it. You're recording. You got to have it.
You've got to have it. This is what I was told. You've got to have it. Well, I thought I was prepared for this experience until the evil click track reminded me that I had absolutely, I'm missing a gene in there somewhere. Something's wrong. I got the wiring wasn't right because
you just had the wrong. Let me tell you what. I'm going to interrupt you here.
Please.
Because you had the wrong click track for your rhythm.
Well,
so you've got a built-in rhythm yourself, and you need to hear it a certain way. So you can add percussion to it. You can do this, but the click, click, click. Some people cannot. It's not rhythmic enough to be rhythmic with.
Oh,
and so
you have just healed something in me, my friend.
I could create a click with you that would be your own click. It would literally be your own click.
Oh,
and this would be, and it would be built off of how you interpret that, and it would take all the pressure off, and you just play.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because when I left that session, I remember my wife said, well, how did that go? And I was like, well, I've always thought of music as a hobby, but now I'm thinking of it as like a, a lame hobby.
Yeah, this it's not really fair because there's some bad clicks that nobody can stay to. I mean, like,
Okay. I
so
thought,
you had a bad,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, thank
yeah,
you
yeah.
for that.
You're welcome. I mean
This
it.
was worth the whole cost of admission for this thing for me, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I totally mean it. I'm not making it up. I'm gonna create a click when we're together. We're
Okay.
gonna have your click and nobody else is gonna know and understand it.
Wow.
But you. Yeah.
But so this is it though. The thing that makes that metaphor interesting to me is if you are out of sync with the rhythm of the business and you feel it, there is
Yeah.
nothing more awkward in the world, especially if you're
Yeah.
trying. I'm trying, man. I'm trying to get in and on
Yeah.
it. And this is another thing where I think remote work really is hard
Right.
because
Right. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
artificial.
I mean, Zig Ziglar used to say, "Don't confuse activity with accomplishment," and that that out of balance type stuff where you're just running on the hamster wheel. That's activity. That's not necessarily accomplishment. I think the other thing, and Steve, you made a great point of this
Uh-oh.
coming off the road. You've been on the road for however long it's been, but now you need some downtime. And, I think
Yeah.
one of the things that leaders miss is that they drive their organizations, they drive their teams, they drive their people, but they never really understand that sometimes you got to hit the pause button and let people catch their breath.
Yeah.
Sometimes you really have to give them the opportunity to just say, okay, can we just pause for a second and catch our breath here before we move on to the next thing? And there are not a lot of leaders that I've worked with that really understand that concept because they're drivers. They
Yeah.
constantly are driving. And so I think that's where this idea of rhythm can be so helpful because if you're doing things in a particular rhythm, you build right into that rhythm a little bit of that downtime or that restoration or whatever you want to call it. And I think that also fuels creativity. I think it fuels creativity and it fuels innovation because when people are burnt out, you do not create an environment that you can innovate in. And so, really understanding that idea that you're allowing in that rhythm of the business, you're allowing that
Sure.
time to for people to kind of pause.
Let me explain to you the rhythm of the road. When you get out, you sleep at odd times because you just got to sleep when you can sleep because the bus and just the variables. But so when you get home from touring and it's not the end of touring season, it's just you're there home that week for a few days and you're cleaning your clothes. It's tough to get into any rhythm as far as physically feeling 100%. Get a lot of colds, you get a lot of allergies, you get all this stuff going on. You're on a bus. Sometimes it's too hot, too cold. You're always around germs and all this stuff is going on. But with all that said, at 11 a.m., I'd get my day sheet from my tour manager. It would tell me everything that was happening that day. If I could, even golf, if I had a time to play 9 holes or hit balls, working out, all this. When was sound check? When was meals, catering, if you were there, where we were going to do all this stuff, right? And then when you play the gig, when the gig started and when your meet and greet is and when how long signing autographs was always a couple hour window afterwards. And then you'd get back, showers and everything, jump on the bus, head to the next town. The bus driver gets picked up. He drives through the night while we try to sleep, but it's hard to sleep after you got a lot of momentum.
Sure.
Yeah.
You've been, it's a high. It's a
Yeah.
high. So
Right.
anyway, getting into that rhythm and then going home was extremely difficult for me because I wasn't getting voice rest and my voice eventually took its toll. And a lot of, sleep is every bit as important as anything you can do for your body, especially your vocal cords.
Right.
So it caught up with me, the rhythm. It didn't matter how rhythmic we were out of balance. I was personally out of balance.
Right.
And then after I had throat surgery, I was put on the way it had to be for me to be able to get my voice strong and to keep it strong forever. And then we realized that if I'm doing something for 60, 70, 80, 90 minutes, I got to take 20. And that had to be the rule no matter what. And once I started doing that, it was amazing how I was able to continue the rhythm rather than be out of sync and out of balance.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Boy, there's a lot in what you just said, man. There's a lot there because the idea of forcing yourself to take time, but then your body just not really letting you do it, or circumstances, because you were coming home, you were a parent. And so what are you going to do? You're going to be there for your kids. You're going to try and,
Couldn't wait to do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you're not getting the rest. It's not like you're coming home and getting treated like a royalty. You're there, you're going to the basketball game, or you're going to do the whatever, because that's your job as a parent. And you're trying to shove all that in there. Extremely, extremely difficult to do. Critical. I think the other piece that's interesting to me is that your body was finally like, no, sorry, you've got to stop. It doesn't
There
matter.
was a certain amount of adrenaline that was there when you got home, but then there
Sure.
was a crash coming. The crash was coming.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's interesting, the rhythm. It's almost like in life in general, can you find a place where you can maintain rhythm? And when you start to get out of sync and it just doesn't feel right, your body doesn't feel right, you're not accomplishing anything. You're not writing a song worth a dang. You're not sounding as good as you should. You're not working with your group as good as you should. Your organization as good as you should. That's when you have to take the time off, probably, to reset and revitalize yourself. Get yourself back to where you in shape.
When we go and look into the history of this idea, what we find is that and look it up. There's some fascinating stuff out there on African tribal music and how music in African tribes still, but certainly back in the day, were all about going from one village to another or accomplishing some task. So, for example, if you're going to build a house or a hut, they had the 27 songs you sang when you built a hut. And they had to do with, there's a song for the foundation making, and it's going to have a certain rhythm and tempo to it, and maybe even some language about how to do it, because that's sort of baked into the music. So for what we understand rhythm to be, if we break that word apart, we understand rhythm is connected to kinetic action, that rhythm and work are tied together, or rhythm and travel. And so if you were going to go walk 3 miles to the next village, there was a series of songs that you would be able to choose from that would be some more fast tempo, some slower tempo, depending on what you were trying to achieve or do. But the tempo was going to be kept for the group to move together as a group. So why was that important? Well, if you're 25 people and you're walking 3, 5, 10 miles through African bush, keeping up with your whole group is very important. And so this idea of call and response and musical interactions between subsections of the group, that was a thing. It was also for safety. So this idea of music really being woven into work, I think, is a powerful thing. So we were talking about this idea that work and music are really tied together. And it occurred to me, I was just at the gym earlier today, and 100% of the people in the gym had headphones in. And it took me a second to kind of have that moment as I'm putting my headphones in.
Yeah.
And
Everybody's looking for their own rhythm and their own thing to get them through.
It's this weird, it didn't used to be that way in the gym. Usually the gym had a vibe where they were playing some loud music in the gym, but now nobody wants that. They want to hear their own thing.
Your own.
And if I go to the gym and I don't have my headset with me, I will leave. I will go away and go get my headset. I mean, I'm not going to, that's how addicted I am to that sense of music. And I have playlists for it. I have the whole nine, and
Well, it sounds like you're the same thing you just told us about, the certain songs for the foundation. Right. And it's exactly that.
Yeah.
It's exactly that. That makes all the sense in the world to me. That gets you through it. Yeah. And it probably gets everybody in sync.
Yeah.
And of course yourself, if you're by yourself with the music and you're working out, you want to be in sync. You want to be in rhythm.
Yeah. It's motivating. It's pulling you through.
What about monk principles?
Well, and it's interesting because Benedict talked about this 1,500 years ago. Only he called it ora et labora.
We can't get past that.
Work and prayer, ora et labora. So only their idea, if you think about it, even today, if you go to a lot of Benedictine monasteries, the prayer that they do is all chanted. It's called Gregorian chant. It's music.
I love it. Oh yeah.
Sure.
and
I listen.
that's
Yeah, that's good stuff.
yeah, that's their music. That's what they do, and they do that 7 times in some places 7 times a day, and that's their rhythm. That's and that ties that work and that prayer together as part of what they do. It's just the whole rhythm of the day of their life that happens. And so
And
the
so
music
aura
and the
is
work
the word. Aura is the
aura
word for prayer.
aura et labora. It's a Latin word, a Latin
A-
term.
a-
Just sounds. I want to go there. I want to go visit.
Oretlabora. Ora
Oh
et
my.
labora.
This
Okay.
sounds
All right.
fantastic. Sounds like
Man.
a vacation to me. Let me ask you this: like with stability and intention, I'm staring at these words right now, and rhythms rooted in reflection, work, rest, and purpose. So where does those monk principles come into play with rhythm?
Well, rhythm builds stability. And that's the one thing that it's important to understand when we create rhythms. For instance, for me, I spend generally 40 to 60 minutes every single morning in prayer and reflection and gratitude. And when I skip that, my day goes all to heck. And I've found that out, and I've really been intentional about that, especially over about the last 4 years. In fact, if I look over at my bookcase, I do journals as part of that, and I've got a whole stack of journals that I've done over the last 4 years that are all lined up on the bookcase. So that's how I build the rhythm. And I think anytime that you can find, and I know Steve, you do some of that in the morning as well. Anytime that you can find that type of thing that starts a rhythm, gives you that stability, it gives you that groundedness, and you have to be intentional. You have to do it. And you
Yeah.
have to do it consistently. And so that's where those monk principles come into play. And if you look at the way the monks have done this for 1,500 years, it's brilliant in how they do it. And a lot of organizations, especially a lot of organizations that still embrace the Benedictine tradition, still build in that idea of ora et labora. They still build in that idea of work and prayer.
So you got me thinking of the things that we can make predictable. So the things that are predictable in the mornings are those things: work out, pray for me, then get coffee,
Yep.
get things situated, whatever. Then for some reason, I'm able to handle curveballs better because I
Exactly.
set the tone to the day, and I can and you're going to get curveballs in your day.
Yeah,
But I
absolutely.
think if you can start in sync with what you know, get you going,
Right.
you can handle those things better. It's interesting.
Right. And I think even, and we'll keep the baseball analogy going, even thinking about it from a standpoint is when I've got that stability, when I've got that built into my day, not only can I handle curveballs, but I'm not going to swing at them in the dirt.
Right, right.
I'm not gonna, when somebody comes at me or says something,
Not
or I see
chasing a
something on
pitch.
social media, or something goes negative, I'm not gonna swing at that junk in the
Hmm,
dirt. I'm gonna let it go by.
hmm,
Yeah,
hmm.
yeah, yeah.
That's very interesting. I typically my rituals are late night. I started about nine
Sure.
thirty. They go right up to my bedtime. But what I've discovered as I age is that now I'm bookending that with a morning
Yeah.
session.
Oh,
And so I'm seeing them. I've never been a morning person. I'm still not exactly a morning person, but I am now getting up and it is the first thing I do.
we've done this show at 8 in the morning your time. I've seen it. No, go ahead.
Yeah, you have.
Very good. You've been very impressive. But keep going.
That was the one that we turned off the video on.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but go ahead. So what's that like coming out of it? Like ending your day with it and then waking up to it.
Yeah, that's exactly, to me, it's I feel like it's a luxury cruise because, that time in the evening, for me is regenerative. It's the time when I kind of do some and so I'm doing the same thing you guys are doing. I'm sure it's just
Sure.
mine looks a little more yoga-ish than maybe you're
Right.
doing, but that's okay. And then when I wake up in the morning, what I've discovered, it started with getting up in the morning and feeling like, okay, now I know, because I worked so much on my hips or whatever it was last night. I'm going to get those kind of loosened up again. So I might go do 5 minutes of yoga. That's how it started. But then all of a sudden I start sitting, and then I sit and I do a little, so now I'm sort of, but I can go quick. That was the other thing I discovered about the morning. In the evening, I sort of enjoy just languid time. But in the morning, I can just kind of click through it. It's more efficient.
Are you able to shut down what you need to shut down and revise or bring back what you need to bring in the forefront when you're in this situation? When you're
I'll tell you
meditating?
exactly where I'm at, because I'm in a weird spot. I think I can, but the data on my sleep watch says I can't.
Ah,
So I think I'm doing just fine. But then I get up in the morning and it says you had an okay sleep score because of all the times you woke up last night.
yeah.
Interesting.
Well, then I look at the thing and I was up not once or twice or like 8 times. I'm somehow waking up in the middle of the night. And it was, it's an adult show. I was like, I got to get up and take a leak. Right. So that's not an unusual thing. But then I started, there's this product called glycine. And what I highly recommend it. You can buy it over the counter. It's a thing. But what it does, if you are having that issue, it just basically tells one little part of your brain, you'll be fine. You don't need to send the alert signal on that. It's not like you're going to wet the bed or anything like that. It's a very, very subtle thing, but that made a huge difference for me. I could quote unquote sleep through the night, but I'm still not sleeping through the night. So sleep hygiene,
Your body gets used to
sleep
melatonin.
hygiene is a thing, man. And
Yeah.
I think it's because my body is on alert and has been on alert for 25 years. And I think that's calm. I'm what the doctor would call super stress, right? So I've been so stressed for so long that when I think I'm relaxing, I'm still stressed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You've been swimming in it your whole career. And you just, you've been in the deep end with sharks, and you just sort of feel like the sharks are dolphins now. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think, that's normal. And so one of the things I'm looking forward to in retirement is, and this is what my doctor has told me. My doctor has said, 3 weeks into retirement, you're going to be sleeping, zoning. And I hope so. But the one thing I also know is that my sleep hygiene is terrible, except for the yoga piece before bedtime. I'm, I'm too many screens at night. I'm not, there's a lot of stuff I ought to be doing that I'm not doing.
Yeah. The other rhythm that I've built in over the years, and I've been doing this for a long, long time. You can always find me in my office on Sunday nights. I'll always spend an hour or an hour and a half in my office on Sunday night, mapping out the whole week. So I know
Beautiful.
exactly, okay, and
This is how he does
I do
it,
this.
Cesar.
I do this with sales training as well. When I work with salespeople, is that how many times do you walk into the office on Monday morning and it takes you the first 2 hours to figure out what the heck you're going to do, either on Monday or the rest of the week, And, I have found that in that rhythm that I've built on those Sunday nights, I'm able to sit down, I'm able to kind of map out the whole week. So I can go to bed, I can sleep well, and I can walk into the office on Monday morning and say, okay, here we go, and that works well for me. And I think anytime that you can kind of feel it. And one of the things that I think is important with this idea of rhythm is preparation. And preparation, I think, is vital because when we're not prepared for whatever it is we're doing, when we're not prepared, that immediately triggers stress and anxiety. And stress and anxiety will knock you out of rhythm faster than you can even imagine. So I think,
Takes you out.
yeah, so I think that whole idea of preparation is really, really important as a part of creating your rhythm.
It's interesting you talk about your Sunday night. As structured as I am in the morning with what I do, I find comfort in working in the cracks. So, and I got to tell you, it's like okay, I got to do this. I got to do this. Gwen prints out my sheet. She's starting to do that now because even the calendar got a little overwhelming. I said, I'm never overwhelmed, but I'm a little overwhelmed because I got projects and music projects I got to have done by such and such date, and I'm playing live, and there's a lot of things going on. And so she started printing out the list, and it helped me. But I noticed that I'm really good in between the cracks of like preparing for my future radio shows in a Mississippi Minute. There's just a lot of things that I do that I have to get done, and I don't do them at a set time. It's just in the cracks of my day.
Sure.
And it's
sure.
sort of comforting. I don't know. I can't explain it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no, I think it's, let's go back to cooking for a second. One of the big things that changed for me in the kitchen was never wasting time in the kitchen. So yeah, I've got stuff over there. I got to wait for that water to boil. And I've got this stuff over here but there's 4 minutes now where I got nothing to do. So I can go wash that pot. I can go clean off that cutting board. I can go, and this is what you're talking about. You're kind of working in the seams.
Yeah.
You're there to make the pasta sauce.
Right.
But now when I finish my pasta sauce, the kitchen is clean. And maybe I've even rearranged my spices a little bit. You
need to have a talk with my bride right now because she doesn't clean as she cooks. I do that.
It's a developmental step. It will come to her.
Yeah, she doesn't. She likes to just do it. Now, but listen, Gwen lives to cook. Cecilia's a chef now because not just me, because of Gwen. I mean, this has been a total dual parent thing that she saw and watched and fell in love with at the age of 2. And she's always loved that. So both ways work. I'm more like you are about that, but I'm not going in and messing with the spice thing. That Gwen does that. She likes to organize spices. So she'd be the one to do that. I clean as I go. But guys, is it not therapeutic to cook?
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Oh, absolutely. I'm on Team Gwen. I don't clean up till afterwards.
but it's one of the most therapeutic things to hear the Holy Grail, to hear the Holy Trinity. I call it the Holy Trinity. Hit the pan in hot oil.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the greatest. It's like it's a different song every night.
Yeah.
Like watching a different sunrise and a different sunset, but it's familiar. You know what I mean? And you can't wait to hear it.
Or the sizzle when that big steak goes into that cast iron frying pan.
Oh. I think this is a good one to end on. Let's go cook.
Yeah.
Let's end this thing.
All right.
I got some of that
Bring us
gunpowder
home.
stuff too. I ordered that.
Hey, I just had that on burgers the other night. It's fabulous.
Yeah, it's really
What'd you have?
I had the gunpowder seasoning that you guys.
that you recommended.
fabulous.
Yeah, that was.
What on earth is that?
I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Thank God it comes in like a 4-gallon tub.
Let's don't give it too much love because they're not sponsoring this show yet.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Randy, bring us home.
Wow. So, this whole idea of rhythm is, it's just a part of your life. And the sooner you recognize that, you start seeing it in your work and in your physical life and in your family life. And then to Mike's point, when you start preparing for it, you're going to do a whole lot better. Don't follow me, follow Mike on this one. And the Benedictine principles, learn some Gregorian chants. That would be your homework for now and the next one, because there's nothing will get you calm better than 30 minutes of Gregorian chanting. But anyhow, rhythm is everywhere. You just got to wake up and find it. And then people got to wake up and find us. And where do they find us?
ResonanceLeader.com is where you can find us. We're also on all of the podcasts, and you want us to come in live and work with your team, work with your organization. We would love to do that. And you even get us live and in person. Who knows? Maybe we'll even cook for you. So,
you never, just people do it.
All right, guys. Well, until next time, we will see you later. And thanks for listening to Resonance. Take care.
Later on.
Thanks for listening to Resonance. Find us at resonanceleader.com.